So I'm here with George Beden today, and you served not only in the United States Navy, but you also served in World War II. Is that correct, sir? And you just gave me a packet, which I am going to read through on your story, but I saw the first page, and that basically the reason you got in was because after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, you felt like you needed to get involved. Is that right? Yeah. And then why'd you choose the Navy?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, I originally went down for the Air Force.
Okay.
But after 3 days of tests, they found out that I had a heart murmur, which my family doctor back home was the only one that ever knew that, because I was in CCC camp for a year and they never found it. Nobody ever found it.
So you're part of the CCC boys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're going to go back to that because there's some really cool CCC stuff. I'm a big outdoor guy. I've hiked down in Arkansas. There's still stuff down there. There's cabins, lodges. White Rock's got them.
We bought every tree down there was planted by the CCC.
I know. We'll talk about that in a second. That's really badass. So they basically said you got a heart murmur, you can't be a pilot. And that's
what they told me.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
Well, anyhow,
the CCC guys wouldn't have let you do it too if they found out you had one too.
I don't know.
Huh.
I have no idea.
Yeah, they never found it.
I played sports. I played I played all the sports in high school.
So
my family doctor found it, and I didn't know I had it. In fact, tell you the truth, I'm a swimmer. I come from a town town's on a lake, so every kid in town, that's all they did all day, swim.
That's all. What else are you supposed to do?
What I'm saying is, it never bothered me.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you're still here, so I would think that
still don't bother me.
Yes, I think
almost 98.
Yeah, I think doing pretty damn good. Look pretty damn good for 98, sir.
Well, I can tell you why. I don't go to doctors, and I don't take any medicine.
Just eat good.
Best cook in the world.
Yeah.
I hate to eat in a restaurant because there's no restaurant can beat her food.
I agree. My wife's the chef, and I agree with that statement 110%. 110%. Because no one can.
Where does she go?
She is the head baker for Mama Jean's. Oh, really? So anything that is baked in one of those stores, it's her. So it's a little bit more specific because it's all organic, grass-fed, everything. People with they have to eat a vegan or they can't have gluten, and so she'll get off-the-wall requests. But she's phenomenal. She likes baking, but she can cook. I mean, she's the type of chef where it's like if she walked into your house and you opened your cupboards, she'd make you whatever you wanted based on what you had. She's really good.
My dad was the same
She could
way.
that's how she was raised. She's unbelievable. So I'm with you 100%, George, on that. Back to your service. Now let's talk about the CCC. There are not a lot of people around anymore that know about the Civilian Corps, but it's so important that you understand that the Civilian Corps is such a cool thing, especially when it comes to the Parks Department services stuff, because there are still places, be specific, like in Arkansas, there's a place called White Rock. There's a mountain, and on top of that mountain is a giant 16-person lodge, which I assume was what held the CCC boys down there while they worked those parks around the Ozark Highland Trails and all that stuff that follows the Buffalo and the Kings River. They're still standing this day, and they're almost 100 years old now.
Do you know anything about the CCC?
Yeah. How it was started, and how did you get involved in it?
How did I get involved in it?
Yeah.
Well, I graduated in high school when I was 16, and I was too young to get in the CCC. So I waited until I was 17 and went to the CCC camp. That's how. But there was nothing else in those days.
Yeah, to make money, and that's why the CCC essentially was created.
Let me put another thought in your mind. In the first place, you probably are aware, if you've done any study, and most people aren't, but we almost lost World War II. I mean, we won it by quirks. We didn't win it by brain. We won it by luck. And if we hadn't had all thousands of kids trained in the CCC, trained by the Army.
Before they got into the Army.
Anybody.
Yeah, I know. And it worked out, which went from essentially a socialist program to get a bunch of guys involved and a bunch of kids that were graduating high school because it was like, we don't have anywhere for them to work.
No.
So what are we supposed to do? Yeah. And obviously Then they did CCC. We made these gorgeous
Here's
national
another
parks.
thing that people don't understand today is that to give you a good idea of what life was like in those days. This is in 1940, and when I went into camp, there's 200 to a camp, if I remember right, and we all lined up in the morning for tattoo, salute the flag, and the lieutenant walked out from the office, and he said, anybody in this group that can type, raise your hand. The only one.
You were the only one?
200.
Wow.
He says, good, you're company clerk. So anyhow, that I say that just to give you an idea of what life was like in those days.
Yeah.
There was none of those kids in that. Another thing was, even when I went in the Navy, you would be surprised how many kids could not write, could not read, could not even sign their name.
Wow.
A lot.
I'm not surprised in that time, and it's a good thing that's changed going forward for sure. Where did you, as a CCC, where'd you work?
Northern Michigan.
Okay, so all the lake stuff, and
they sent me to, they called it Chittenden Nursery. It was Camp Wellston up near Cadillac, Michigan.
Uh-huh.
We grew every tree that you see in the United States.
Wow.
It's a big nursery.
And so they would nurse it, and then they'd replant it down in
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Millions and millions and millions
Wow.
of trees out of there. Yeah,
Oh,
they were only that big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just basically make the cutlings and then send them off.
They put them in a box, looked like a casket. I think it was about 2 foot square and about 5 or 6 feet long. And we did. I worked in the office, but the guys went out there and pulled all those trees in the nursery, in rows like this, and they were about that long, and laid them in between burlap, wet burlap, each layer. And I don't know how many thousand trees. If you can just imagine those trees, there's a lot of trees.
Yeah, I could imagine if it was supplying most of the country.
And then they were shipped out, of course, to California, Florida, to wherever.
Wow.
Alabama, whatever.
So then, after that, you got into the Navy. What'd you do in the Navy?
Well, I first of all, I went in Great Lakes. I was there 28 days. That's all the training we had.
Boot camp, 28 days.
Yeah.
28 days, and when I first went in, there was about somewhere around 800 or 900 or 1,000 of us took the test the first week, and I lucked out. I ended up in the top 500. In fact, in the top 250. The top 250 went to school, to college. The second 250 got a low rank and went in the Navy. So guess where I ended up? University of Missouri.
So you're a Mizzou guy. Wow.
Yeah. So I went to school at the university, and came out a second-class petty officer.
Wow. And then got in.
Huh?
And then got on. What boat did you serve on?
My first tour of duty was on a YMS, a mine sweep.
Uh-huh. Oh man.
We took up 181 mines, I think.
Wow.
Down in the Hebrides, and then we did escort duty to. Well, first of all, on the way down, we hit Tarawa.
Uh-huh.
And that was my first high altitude bombing.
Wow.
But in the Navy, one thing that you don't realize, well, you were in the Navy?
No, I didn't.
If you don't, in the Navy, there's no point in being below decks. In fact, that's the last place
you want to be. I know that. Yeah, I know that.
So when we're in the bay, and of course, as soon as they started the high altitude bombing along the beach and on the island, everybody goes on top, and we're watching it. Watching it go on. And because the last place, they say the last place you want to be is below decks. But anyhow, so that's at Tarawa. We made that invasion, which, by the way, was the last time in that war that I saw high-altitude Japanese bombers. I don't think they had any left after that.
Really?
I think that was the last of them.
They just ran out.
Yeah, you could see they had the searchlights on them, of course, as they were going over, and you could see them when they dropped the sticks down. And if that's the last time in that whole war I ever saw a Japanese bomber.
Wow.
Maybe they had them, but I think they were out of them by that time.
They ran out of them. Yeah.
Then I went down to Hebrides, and like I said, we spent, I think, 4 months taking up 200 and some mines, 80 mines, something like that. I got stories. I got some funny stories about that. I don't know. First of all, you got to remember, when we went overseas, none of us knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
We're all stupid.
Well, you can't really teach that. You can kind of make someone as prepared as they need to be, but you don't learn that way. Yeah.
So anyhow, I think most of those were floating mines.
So you could just see them.
Well, we cut the cables and they'd pop the top. They'd float to the top. But once they'd float to the top, they'd be bouncing around there. And of course, not much of a mine shows. Just about much of it at the top. So we got them up there. Well, nobody knew what to do with it. God, what the heck do you do? So we decided we'd take the 3-inch 50 and blow them up. So the old man pulls up there. We start firing away. How do you hit something? Big as a V8, out there. Well, we finally hit one, and we struck a couple. And finally we hit one, and that son of a gun blew up, and the ship came out of the water about 2 feet. The old man said, "That's the last of that." Out of here. So they decided. But then we got the really funny one. The funniest, I think, was he says, "We'll call back to base and have them send out a boat." So next day, here comes this LCVP with 2 guys on it, 2 machine guns, and they come up to it. And they're going to machine gun these things. Well, machine gun, they had to get a lot closer than we did.
Yeah, because the rounds are not big enough.
Well,
yeah.
On a couple, then they finally hit one. And honestly, I think that whole boat came out of the water. The last we saw of them was.
Let's go, bro. This ain't working. This ain't working. We tried and it didn't work. That's hilarious.
Then they sent out some mine warfare guys, and all we tried it was we actually took a cable and put a pulley on a pine tree on an island and run the cable off to the island like this. Of course, that was here, and the ship was over here. And we pulled it along and pulled it up on the beach. And we had some mine warfare guys that were supposed to disarm it. We pulled up 2 or 3 up there. We exploded a few, dragging them up the beach. But then one day the lieutenant, there was in these crazy guys, mine warfare people, he comes in, he says, "My God," he says, "here we were rolling this around on the beach." And he said, "We didn't realize we took one of the nipples off on the side of the mine. That cotton picker was alive." We didn't even know it.
So many lucky situations, I can imagine.
A lot of funny things happened in that war. Like I said, we were stupid. We were just hadn't learned.
Yeah, well, you were kids, A, and B, you'd never been in any kind of situation like this.
Nobody's been in the war at that time. That was a war.
Yeah.
And we had to improvise and do whatever come along,
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple times we popped the mine off, and of course I was a pretty good swimmer. And so a kid named Hanson, he was a darn good swimmer too. He and I'd go over the side and swim along and look down, see where they were, and then go back to ship. So, hey, there's a mine down there. But anyhow, it was fun.
Golly.
We were kids. We had a good time.
Yeah. How long did you stay in for?
I was in 3.5 years.
Okay. Yeah, then I got out after
overseas.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then after the war's over.
Yep. You got to again. You got to understand, if you've done a lot of studying, you probably already know, but we didn't know what we were doing. And as the war went on, we ran out of men. We were running out of people. You know what? My first tour over, my first year and a half or so overseas, we didn't have any married men because they weren't taking them. I mean, you know. They were,
Yeah, you don't want to do
but
that.
then second tour,
Everyone had gotten married and had kids.
yeah, we
Yeah.
had a lot of married men.
Yeah, I know.
Because we were sucking the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And if we'd have went into Japan, in fact, I was in Los Angeles retrofitting our ship when the bomb dropped in Japan, and it was a good thing because first place we would never made it ashore,
No,
and second place we couldn't win.
not on their turf.
We couldn't
No.
win that.
I mean,
anyway,
just
you know.
see also what happened to Germany trying to go into Russia. It,
Yeah,
yeah,
no
I mean,
way.
there's nothing you can
No
do.
way.
What
When
are you
we
supposed
got-
especially when you got people that are literally willing to die,
Yeah.
and that's everyone, not just the men, everybody.
And
Well,
every
you got
home-
when I walked into Gun Shoe. See, we was on one of the first ships in to a little town called Gun Shoe, which is just across the bay from Nagasaki, where they dropped the bomb. Which is a dumb thing too, because when we went in there, nobody told us that we couldn't go to Nagasaki. That was all.
Fallout and all that stuff. Yeah, yeah.
But a couple of weeks later, some of the guys came back and said, "Hey, we aren't supposed to be over there. They're driving everybody else." But we were at Gunshoe, which is a little fishing town, and every house had a foxhole. Every house had a foxhole.
Yeah.
No kidding.
All day.
And,
Yeah, they were ready.
one of the rooms. yeah.
That's why the surrender by the emperor is probably one of the biggest mind blows of ever, because that's wasn't supposed to happen that way. But you're right, we got lucky.
They don't realize either that Japanese is nothing but a pile of rocks. Now, even today, see, I was in Japan 6 years ago, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I went over there, and it's this.
College of the Ozarks.
Okay, yeah.
There's still no
The
houses.
Queen City thing they do. Isn't it a Queen City thing they do, or we have a city over there that's like our sister city or something like that?
No.
They have a patriotic program where they have
One veteran
one
and two
vet.
students.
And
Oh,
two
cool.
different
Oh,
students.
yeah.
And
Okay.
they're assigned to us.
Yeah.
And
What'd you think of
course, we
Japan?
Yeah.
Did you like Japan?
Oh, I love Japan.
Oh my God, I went there for about a month when I was in the
beautiful
college.
people.
Oh
You
my
don't-
God, it's an unbelievable
People
place.
don't understand those people. They're the nicest people in the world.
Best, most respectful,
Oh.
and then you go through a town like Kyoto is probably my favorite city in Japan because it's kind of old school but new school. But you go into that city, and it's a big city, and people, you go out in the morning. I would go on runs in the morning. Every shopkeeper was out in front of their shop cleaning the street, not the shop area, the street in front of their shop, because of how much respect they had for what they had. And I was just blown away by that. I was like, you would never find that in the
You go
United
to
States.
Hiroshima?
Only in
Yeah.
Belgium.
I made it about halfway through the museum before I couldn't go anymore.
Oh, you didn't go into town?
I went to Hiroshima. I went to the museum. I just couldn't. I
Oh, you
couldn't
didn't?
be in there.
Oh, you know the whole town's underground.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing, though.
Yeah.
Down under there.
Tokyo was. I mean, I was there. I was lucky. I got to go. I basically got what they call the J Pass, and it's just a train ticket
Yeah.
that you can just basically go wherever you want. And I just like, I'm here for this amount of time, so I went everywhere.
Good.
Went to Mount Fuji. Went to these little podunk towns that were like Ozark, Japan. You know, just nothing in the middle of nowhere. Went to a ton of temples. Saw a bunch of Buddhists.
Surrey Castle.
Yeah. Saw those castles too, where you'd go up to the fence and they'd have a whole circle, a square circle, and a triangle, and you're like, what the hell is that? But it was for different guns and things to go through that what they would use. I mean, and these things are older than time itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool
Well,
stuff.
you know, the amazing thing was that it took just about 3 days. When we first went ashore, everybody was scared to death because they'd been told he was going to kill them. And so they'd step off the sidewalk and all stand in a row and bow. And, you know, of course the kids weren't. The kids were all around us like little bees.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
because they're curious.
I got a picture at home. One of the we went all over town hanging on my finger.
That's awesome.
But It took about 3 days, and it just opened up. I mean, everybody, they realized we weren't going to kill everybody in town, and they were the friendliest people.
Well, they were imperialistic, and they assumed that we were also imperialistic, and we're going to do what they would have done, which is not what we did.
But the change was overnight. I mean,
Yeah.
just overnight.
That's good.
It's just amazing.
And it's arguably one of the greatest capitalistic countries in the world now, the way it's done.
We were typical Americans, and I feel, in a way, I kind of feel bad about it, but we walked in as conquerors. I mean, when we went ashore, we opened the door in the house, and if they were eating or in bed, we just walked right on through and went out the back door and went out the next way. Took over like we owned the place.
Yeah, well, technically we did at that
Yeah.
point.
But that didn't last long either. I
No.
mean, a few days, and everybody wised up, and they were so friendly that the whole attitude changed.
Yeah,
just-
and it's a good thing, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really good thing. Well, we need to eat. Our food's been sitting here for a long time. George, thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me. And I'm sure there is so much more that I'm going to get into, and I'm definitely going to read this too, and I really appreciate it. But thanks so much for coming today, and Myrna, thank you for bringing it today. I appreciate it.